Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at the last session of the day. Hopefully you've had some bubbles, you're feeling comfortable. We're going to have a nice little fireside chat with Mark here. So it's really nice to have you here. I'm Megan Engard from Insider One, and I've got Mark here today with me. So Mark leads marketplace strategy across one of Australia's biggest retail groups. So that includes Woolworths, Big W, Everyday Rewards, and MyDeal. And kind of over the last 2 years, we've really had a seismic shift in how we're thinking about customer personalization. I'm sure that you guys have all felt this, kind of the rules that worked in 2022, things like, batch campaigns and, campaign calendars and segment-based offers are not necessarily working the same as they used to. And we all know that that's probably because of, agentic orchestration and the new emergence of AI in kind of all areas of our business. So that's what Mark and I are going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how technology isn't really the bottleneck, but what is the bottleneck is data readiness, strategic alignment, and kind of being willing to give up the things that you've built that have worked in the past to take on board new aspects and new strategies. So, Mark, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start off by kind of asking you, as you're managing this massive group, what is kind of the biggest change that you're seeing in how retailers are, really approaching customer engagement now in this new sphere in 2026?
That's a very deep first question. I'm just going to put that out there. So
we're going big. We're going big to start.
I've got a very strong opinion on that. First, I just want to give another plug to the QR code. So happy to have a conversation. If there's anything that you want to kind of double click on or learn a little bit more or just get an unfiltered opinion, I think that's the code up there. Scan it and ask away. So how are retailers thinking about personalization?
And how has that changed?
Well, I think about it. I think most retailers think about it in the context of how do we deliver better experiences for customers. And so if you think back, 10 years ago, the utopian state was personalization in the context of the messaging that you receive, personalization in the context of what's the next best offer, personalization in terms of, the utopian version would have been personalization in terms of the experience when you land on a commerce platform, but it never really played out the way that people thought it would.
Yeah.
And so I'd say most retailers think about it in the context of how do I best serve that customer and what's the best next action that we can support that customer on that shopping journey. Yeah. And so there's lots of complexity with that, but there's also lots of opportunity as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's a really interesting piece, and you actually commented recently on Australia Post, did a report around kind of e-commerce and highlighting the balance between kind of utility and discover. How are you seeing that kind of connect to this agentic personalization and this kind of change in the sphere? Maybe
I can talk about, again, a personal view. Yeah. In my mind, there are two kind of core missions that a customer or a prospect has, and the first is they see shopping as utility, and so I'm a utility style shopper. For me, it's about seamlessness, it's about reducing friction, it's about making the experience end to end as easy as possible. And then you've got the other side of shopping, and that's discovery, and then you'll have cohorts of customers that want to go down this kind of a creative journey around discovery and inspiration, and they go to a shopping mission, not actually having a product in mind. And they're either seeking value or they're looking to serve a particular mission around, good for me, good for my family, or for an event, or for a milestone, or for something in the calendar like Black Friday or Christmas or some sort of deal. And commerce is a combination of both. How do you bring utility and discovery and best serve both customer cohorts? And so when you think about agentic, for me, my view is it's really about utility. And, it's not a pipe dream that, agents or robots or machines are now shopping on behalf of customers. And so when you think about that, you need to think about it in the context of, does your experience promote utility, making it easy, not just for humans, but also the machine supporting humans to shop and transact and ultimately serve a mission? Or do we uplift that discovery and inspiration? So for those cohorts of customers that don't want to leverage the machines to enable that utility journey, that I want an enhanced and elevated experience, and what's the role of stores in that?
Yeah.
And so I don't think, I read a lot about Agentic.
Yeah.
I don't think it's, we're going to get to this dystopian end state where it's just machines doing everything. I think it's going to support, and for some it's going to coordinate and do everything. And then for others, they're going to think about shopping in a way that brings them joy, and they want to discover and be inspired, and they want to understand what you like, because that informs my decision. And so it's, how do you do the best of both, and where do you lean in to make sure you're not missing on that customer cohort that's going to emerge and become even bigger and bigger and bigger?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, because I think a lot of brands are so focused on the agentic side of it, right? How do we make sure that we're making that utility? But I think there's a little bit of fear around some of that original kind of inspiration going away. But it's, it's encouraging to hear that you think that that's still going to be a place in the market.
I mean, I was having a conversation with this guy. Like, if you guys don't follow him on LinkedIn, you should. His name's Jordan Burke, and he's the founder and principal of probably the premier digital retail consultancy called Tomorrow Retail. And I met him at different events. He's from the US, he's ex-Walmart. He's a really, really brilliant guy. And so even today, we think about agentic commerce in the context of how customers shop. Actually, in the future, agentic commerce may just be metadata and a data lake that's organized in a way that makes it easy for a machine to synthesize with guardrails, so they're not scraping everything. Because do they need to go on a homepage? Do they care about a messaging? Actually, what their mission will be is, how do I build trust with the person that I'm supporting? And so as a platform, you've got to think about, well, how do you equip the machine to be able to make the most informed decision to best serve the customer mission that they're supporting? And so the experience might not be a website that they're going to. It might be an API, or it might be some other mechanism to be able to communicate rapidly, so that you can serve that mission as well.
And if you're thinking about this kind of state and knowing that that's still a ways away, but what do you think is maybe something that you've seen holding retailers back from kind of moving in that direction?
I can just talk about my own experience. Megan shared my role. I've been at the Woolworths Group for 7 years, and the last, I'd say, 4 years I've been involved in our marketplace businesses, and now I lead them. And so we effectively operate a platform, and that platform enables retailers, enables our sellers to partner with the Woolworths Group to bring in third-party inventory to serve customer missions on Woolworths Online, on Big W, and in our Everyday Rewards loyalty store. And so we work with thousands and thousands of sellers. Yeah. And so in the context of what I do, the most important thing is the quality of your data and seller data. And every seller's data scheme is a little bit different, and the quality of the content's a little bit different. And so it's fraught with complexity. And so to serve that future mission, we've got to be really rigid in terms of the structure, in terms of how we take in that data, but also how can we augment it and how can we improve it? Because when you're dealing with thousands and thousands of sellers, there's varying levels of capability. And so that is something that I think about in terms of that next horizon of, if we're serving agents, we need the best product content data so that we can serve more of their missions and be able to surface up the attributes so that they can best serve the customers they're representing.
Yeah, and I mean, we see this at Insider in retail. We see it in a lot of other businesses, this idea that this data cleanliness and having a really clear data architecture is going to make such a big difference. And if you're not kind of there, that's where you need to be, is get that data kind of in order for the next stage. So a question that I wanted to ask, because we've talked a lot about how it's changing, but how do you, right now at this moment, we still have a lot of different channels. We have SMS, we have email, we have apps, we have websites. How are you kind of thinking about channel strategy in your own role, or what has that changed recently?
I think the overarching principle doesn't change. You've got to be where the customer is. So when I think about channel strategy, you've got to meet the customer where they are versus thinking that you have that magnetic force to drive them to your preferred channel because either, the ROI is better, or, it's easier to execute, or it's less fraught with complexity to kind of manage. And so I don't think that changes in terms of that principle. If we're at a customer experience event, so you've got to fish where the fish are. You've got to have a presence. That's a big part of our proposition around marketplaces. I don't know how many retailers are in their room, but my view is, if you want to attract a customer and drive a conversion, build a relationship, you've got to be where customers are shopping. And so that's a whole, that includes the channels, that includes how you market, that includes understanding what their preferences are.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the channel, people are I feel like they're a bit overwhelmed with now so many options, so many channels. Now we've got, Agentic on top of that, but keeping the customer front of mind no matter how, I think is the best approach. So I agree. Is there anything about it that keeps you up at night? Other than data, cleanliness, is there anything about this that you're thinking about as well that is kind of impacting your strategy?
I think I was at another event recently, and I had just come back from being in Europe, and while I was there, I was on holidays, so it wasn't like a work trip. I was there on holidays, and while I was there, I met people in tech that work in AI and crypto and kind of these different vectors, and I just feel like they're operating with so much more urgency, and so for me, I don't want to say it keeps me up at night, but something that I think about is, as innovation happens, like if you think about all of the different moments in time, industrial revolution and whatnot, you have time. We've had time as a species to be able to adapt and accommodate, but with AI, there's a change every single week, and the cycle of innovation is so much shorter. I mean, today I set up an agent. I set up an agent this morning before I left home to monitor my personal inbox. I get lots of emails, and I'm like, I want to know what the best deals are.
Yeah.
I'm Egyptian, so I like really good deals and stuff as the best price possible. So I set up this agent to scan my inbox to go, what are the best deals that are coming? I subscribe to pretty much every newsletter. Tell me the 3 things that I need to read, and then every morning I just go and I prompt it and say morning ritual, and then it just gives me this almanac of things that I need to read for the day. These are the emails that have come through. These are the top 3 articles that I think you're interested in. These are offers and deals on things that you've got a preference for. And it's just there to optimize my life.
Yeah.
And so
you're already at that point where you're letting kind of some of those deals come to you, like you're letting that kind of drive.
Well, I mean, show of hands in the room, who actually reads their promotion emails anymore? I can't see. No one's putting their hands up.
One person.
You are the exception to the rule. You are the exception to the rule. I mean, you get, some brands send 2 emails a day.
Yeah.
So how do you cut through the noise? I think technology can help you, but using it to optimize my time.
Yeah.
And then when you think about it in the business context, what does it change for our platform? I have an aspiration for our platform to be an AI-enabled marketplace, and that is everything from product content to LLMs for data and insights for teams. So it's not just applications for customers. It's how do you make things better for teams, and then how do you make things better for sellers, and how do you serve all 3 cohorts in a way that enriches their experience versus creates barriers or hurdles to be able to serve that mission.
Yeah. I want to touch back on something, because you said you went to Europe, you saw so many people doing all of these, things and really being ahead of the game. Do you feel like that's a regional difference, or?
I don't know. I mean, I know you're from the States. Yeah. I used to work for eBay before I worked at Woolies. Everyone that I know that lives in the States is panicking about the opportunity. Are we seizing it? What does it mean for the nature of work? How do I stay ahead of the curve? And so I do think in different regions there are different adoption curves. Yep. And that's not to say that Australia's lagging. It's just, I think when you're in the mix in San Francisco or Silicon Valley, I think the burden and it's a part of the lexicon, and everyone's obsessing about it because you don't want to miss the next big thing. and it's more pronounced over there is what my personal opinion is.
Yeah, I can see that. I think hopefully that means that we've got a little bit of time, because you were talking about things moving at such speed, and I do think that Australia is taking a little bit more time to take these on board. But I think the positive side of that is that this talk about, data readiness and really spending the time to get the ground and the foundation right, hopefully is where people are spending their time. That's what I hope everyone is kind of working on.
Like traditionally Australians have been, early adopters and ahead of the curve. So I imagine that this isn't something that we're going to miss out on, and I think there'd be lots of things in all of your businesses that you're doing in terms of capitalising, upskilling teams, understanding the kind of growth vectors, how you can leverage it, and we're starting to see a lot of people putting it into play. And so the good thing about, maybe not going first is that you learn from others as well, and that's why events like this are really, really great to kind of accelerate your understanding, go, these are the big bets that I'm going to back, and this is why, and here's the desired outcome that I'm seeking.
If you were to kind of, this is just an off-the-top question, but if you were to look at kind of retailers in this space and you had to define a retailer or someone in the space that you think is going to be a winner, what kind of strategies do you think they're doing now, like for winning in the next 12 months, for really staying ahead of that curve?
As it relates to adoption of AI, I'd say kind of anything that is adopted from the top down, in my view, creates the ripple effects for goodness across the organisation. So if the ELT don't believe in it or they're not using it, how do you expect teams to leverage it for coding or for marketing or for writing better briefs or personalisation and whatnot? And so, when I see what best practice is, it is something that, the underlying principle is that this is an organisational shift, and the opportunity is organisational. And then how do you do it? Like, I think about it in the context of the business that I lead. It's not the biggest part of the Woolworths Group. I've got about 200 people in my team. For me, you start off with just understanding what adoption looks like, and we get kind of weekly reports in terms of how frequently are people using Gemini. That's the stack that we leverage. And then it's about creating forums to talk about innovation and celebrating, the use cases that are actually driving optimization or elevated experiences, either for sellers or for teams or for the way that we manage projects. And then it's just having a really clear North Star vision, and that North Star vision is, what is the unlock? How will this help us accelerate in our next horizon of growth? And so, that's not something that I engineered. It's when I look at further afield what best practice looks like, there's a theme in terms of how organisations are ingraining it in how they operate.
So it's really a mindset shift, so that, like you, maybe they'll set up an agentic flow for their personal life. They'll see how useful that is, and then they can also translate that into the workplace and kind of embedding it in the entire ecosystem rather than just the tools that they're using kind of to deliver. Yeah. Okay. I see that. I see a lot of tick boxes in organizations now, like use AI, but not really this level of like, let's celebrate the wins. Where are we actually seeing it work? Where are we learning from this? Where is it actually making an impact in the business? So I feel like that's a good approach. I like it. How do tools like, I have to do a plug here. How do tools like Insider One or, Contentsquare, these kinds of tools play into that sort of thing in your business?
Well, they're all... transparently, we use Contentsquare, a part of our marketplace, and Insider One.
Thank you.
Insider One in the context of personalisation and merchandising, it was a really important part of our platform when we operated the My Deal banner, and also Contentsquare. It helps inform better decisions to drive better customer outcomes. Ultimately, if you think about personalisation, it's how do we best serve a customer, and then if you think about how we leveraged Contentsquare, that's about how do we make better decisions, actually understanding that customer mission so that we can architect an experience that makes their mission more seamless and more thoughtful. And so, leveraging third-party platforms like this notion of vibe coding and being able to build things, like there are organisations that it's ingrained in their DNA to be able to build these. And so you think about, do we partner, do we build? And so there are obviously tools that makes sense to partner, and
Yeah.
we've leveraged them to the full extent of their capability,
Yeah.
ultimately with one mission, and that's improve customer experience and help team make decisions that influence that customer experience. That's the duality of it.
Yeah, because we hear a lot of people talking about this, right? Like vibe coding and creating their own solution, because now it's, there's less of a barrier to getting that done. But you're saying that you kind of see that maybe being part of it, but really still going out and being able to utilize kind of like a business that's created that rather than just doing it internally.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both for
Yeah.
some, and it depends on the maturity of your business and
Yeah.
where the capability sits within your organisation. But partnerships are very, very important in the context of retail, and partnerships are very, very important in marketplace as well. Like, it's the underpinning philosophy of what we do. We partner with sellers so that we can deliver better experiences for customers. Better experiences for customers means finding products that they wouldn't otherwise find in our retail ecosystem. And so that also translates into how we partner with tech businesses. Like, it's a core part of our ethos, I guess.
I have one other question for you, and then I will look at the Slido. So if you put some questions in, or if you have any, please feel free to drop them in there, and I'll have a quick look. Are you seeing kind of the skill set change in your organization? Are there other skills that you're looking for if you're bringing in new people? Has that had any impact?
I think, in my team, we've hired a AI and automation lead who's responsible for kind of coordinating and managing the efforts of the organisation into a kind of a central focus area.
Yeah.
And so that's not a role that we had previously. Like, obviously, data science and data engineers, that capability has existed for some time. I think the shape of what people do will change over time. And it becomes more about how do we activate that customer experience, how do we leverage technology. Hear things about prompt engineers and, the shifting nature of work. My view is it's important to kind of be curious, to learn as much as you can, to connect with people in the room, to hear about their lived experience, and don't be shy to connect with people on LinkedIn and ask questions. Like, I get random requests where people are asking questions. I'll always respond. And so, that's the great thing about working in a smaller market like Australia. It's very small and contained, and everyone kind of knows everyone. And so, is the landscape changing? Yes. Do I have a personal view in terms of what it's going to look like? Yes. Will I share the view? Maybe not.
Okay.
But I think
after.
I see abundance is my overarching principle. I see abundance. I see lots of opportunities to kind of enhance that overall experience for team, for customers, for your business as well.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just looking and seeing if there's.
Has anyone asked a question? No.
Anyone asked any Slido questions? Yes, we've got a few. Okay.
Megan, you're going to answer some of the questions as well, right?
Oh, maybe. We'll see if there's anyone directed directly to me, maybe. But they want to hear from you. All right. What would you say to those fearful that AI will replace their roles, especially with the upcoming redundancy wave in Australia? What kind of advice would you give?
God, who asked that question? Heavy. That's a very heavy question. There's so many dimensions to that. I think I see AI as a co-pilot to enhancing the way you operate, is my view. And so, if you've got a curious learning mindset, like, this becomes a tailwind in your career. You have unlimited computation and a knowledge base that can enhance every aspect of what you do in your job. And so if you're not leveraging it to the full extent, and your organisation isn't, then sound the town bell on why they should. And so if you have a scarcity mindset, which it's normal, like, it's in our nature to be fearful and to be worried about things that change, then kind of shift into how can you become curious, how can you use it to augment your day-to-day, whether it be in your personal life initially or whether it be in your work life. There is unlimited amount of opportunity if you're leveraging it right. And, you know, it's not just about, okay, you've got contained within this LLM the ability to have information at your fingertips in a conversational way like we've never had before. And that ability can enable you to build agents, and there's lots of tools, whether it be on Instagram or on YouTube or courses that you can do to just go, how can I not miss this opportunity, because it's there to help accelerate what you deliver, the impact you have, and I'd be thinking about it in that context, if I'm honest. That's how I think about it, and I hope everyone else thinks about it in that context.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good way to approach it, because obviously the fear can be a bit scary when it's something new, but rather than letting that take over, really think, how can I utilize this for myself as well? We've got a nice one in here, which I think is
nice
always
one.
a good.
Okay, that's ominous.
It's a fun one, and I think
Go.
I've asked this a lot of times on panels before. Is there a point where you think personalization is too creepy? Or do people expect that in 2026?
I mean, I think the guardrails exist already to kind of ensure that brands don't go too far. And so, you know, there's lots of examples over the years around, I'm not even going to talk about the example that I know that's top of mind. I think it also depends on the shopper and the customer. Is it someone that, you know, there may be cohorts of people that go, I actually want a machine to make all the decisions on my behalf, or I want to go to an experience and I want it to be unique to me. And I like that I don't need to think about what I need to replenish or be inspired. And then you'll have others, you know, we talked about it earlier, you know, the duality of shopping at the core, it's utility or discovery. And it's the same. Everyone has a different bias, and, you know, certain people like things in a certain way. But I think the guardrails exist, and they exist for a reason. And you want it to be complementary. You don't want it to be overwhelming, is my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think that subconsciously people are very used to things being personalized for them now, right? Like, I feel like there's so many things that we don't even think about. You go on Amazon or you go on, you know, any of the big brands, and you see everything that's recommended to you, and you may not even notice that it's there, but you expect it. And when it's wrong, you notice.
I think when we think about personalization, I think it's less narrow than the way we talk about it. And I've been talking about it right now. Like, personalization just doesn't mean, you know, putting things in front of someone that you know
That they might want.
Like, personalization is actually about what's the next best action you can provide a customer or a prospect to enhance their shopping journey or their experience with you as a platform or business. And so I think we're past that personalization, which is, I buy this, therefore you must buy that. Like, I think that's maybe 6 or 7 years kind of. That was the kind of objective 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. Now it's about, actually, how can we leverage our understanding to make your experience better? And that better experience is about what's the best next thing you can do or message you can provide to augment and make that customer mission accretive.
So it's more about the decisioning than just the personalization at this stage.
I think we spoke about that, maybe.
Yeah, I think we did. Maybe
did.
not on this stage, but we have talked about it.
I think we spoke about that.
Yeah, about decisioning kind of being the piece that's now really at front of mind rather than just personalization.
Is it personalization or is it decisioning?
Yeah.
Like, that's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. We've got some other questions, and I want to make sure we've got a little bit of time. I think you already answered platform you're using for your own personal agent. Did you share? Do you
for my own personal agent, I'm using Claude. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm using Claude, and I'm finding it really, it's doing everything for me. You know, searching for flights for holidays. It's you know, doing my daily update. I've even used it to kind of prepare my tax return.
Okay.
for me to give to my accountant. But
Yeah.
you know, I've got like all these emails and I just hate kind of doing that admin. I'm like, find this and put it all together and link it to that. And it's just made my life a lot easier.
Yeah. There you go, guys. Claude, that's your answer.
I built a little app on the weekend. You know, like I've got, I don't know, maybe 20, you know, the conundrum when you've got wine and you're going somewhere and you're like, do I take this bottle of wine or do I take that? And, you know, I'm like, you know, what's it good with? Also, what's the price? You know, and so I built a little app in Claude to be able to do that so that I know what I have and what goes with what. Should it be drunk now? Or do I need to keep it in the little wine fridge? And so like little hacks like that I'm leveraging. I collect sneakers as well. And so I've built a little app to track my sneakers and, you know, which ones I should sell, what's the visual condition that Claude thinks the sneakers are in, what's the retail value, what did I pay for it? And so that's been really, really useful to play around with. Yeah.
Well, I really do think like this is fun. I love that you have a wine app and a shoe app. That's amazing. But I do think it actually does like do exactly what you were talking about, right? This mind shift from the top down. Like you know from your own personal experience how much it's impacting your life, how much it's helping, and so therefore that's naturally going to flow through your business and kind of flow through for you to pass on to the team to say we need to be in front of this. This is something that's really useful to end users. So
it's augmenting my life, not impacting it.
Augmenting. Apologies. Yeah.
Augmenting my life.
All right, let me see. There's one that says, you mentioned 3 pillars of marketplace: sellers, consumers, and internal teams. When you're constrained, what is your framework for deciding which group takes priority?
Oh my God, who asked that question? You're a genius. Who's that? I can't see. Wow. I mean, you've always got to serve your customer, and the best way to serve your customer is to serve your team. And then you've got your partners, which are your sellers. And so ultimately, when you're a retail business, your maniacal focus is on customer and team. It's 2 sides of the same coin, is my view. And, you know, when you lead a business, you've got to obsess about both. And in the context of a marketplace, you've got that third equation, which is your sellers. I don't know if there's any sellers in the room or anyone in the room where the businesses you work for sell on marketplaces, but it's an important partnership. You connect sellers with customers. You've got a product, they've got a product need. You have a platform that's effectively a platform that's supported by team to deliver that. And so it's not as complex as the question asks, but it's a very, very good question. And so the answer is we're here to serve customers. And to best serve customers, you need a team that's inspired, engaged, growing, learning, that they have the tools to be successful. If you have that, then you're doing right by customers as well.
Okay, I like it. This one, I think I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. Will the advancement of AI lead to a loss of critical thinking skills, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, there's schools of thought that says that. Like, I don't know the answer to that. Like, I think about it in the context of specialisation, and I go, you know, I've got an 11-year-old. She's very curious and creative. I adore her. Her name's Amalia. You know, she leverages. She actually helped me build the wine app.
Did she?
She's like, "Oh, Dad, this feature's not good. Let's add this." And it was a really, really good build. And so now I want to kind of help her understand what does it mean for what she studies in the future. Like, I don't know, but you know, there are certain skills that, regardless of what the machines do, connecting with people, being curious, I think that's important. Will it replace free thought? Like, I like to think that it augments it, that it supports it, that you can use it as a partner to help push your thinking or the paradigm in terms of which you're focusing on. But I guess like anything, you know, for some it will, and for others, you know, we don't know what the evolution is. Do we become more creative, and you know, do we become, follow more artistic pursuits? Like, it's a
Yeah.
very big question, that.
Yeah.
But I just think about it in the context of my life and being a dad. So I see it as something that helps her scale and push the thinking further and gives alternative perspectives. Does it change how people study? I think it's too soon to tell.
I mean, just a side note, I want to meet Molly. She sounds amazing. They're going to New York. She's into fashion. She advised him on his outfit today.
Yeah,
she's
sandwiching.
She's
Does everyone
coding
know what
wine
sandwiching
apps.
is? Shoes and shirt have to match, apparently.
There's a lot in here about asking about hindering creative thought, but I think we've touched on that, so that's all right.
Also, questions. Good.
Yeah,
group
this
of
is great.
people.
Thanks so much, guys. These are amazing. How do you see agentic commerce more use interface pivoting to AI engine? How is your strategy to build your brand to be more engaged with customer touch points?
Can you ask that again?
Yes. Yes.
Because it's a question that I need to think about.
Yes. How do you see agentic commerce more using interface pivoting to AI engine? How is your strategy to build your brand and more engaged customer touch points? So I think they're talking about pivoting away from an interface into kind of an AI engine.
Yeah, I mean, which is, look,
Salesforce is, I think, talking about moving in that direction. There's been some chat about it.
like I think about it in the context of, to be able to serve that mission, you need the underlying infrastructure to make that happen. And the underlying infrastructure was something we spoke about earlier, and that is, do we have data in a structured way that has all of the attributes that can be augmented in a thoughtful way, and it may be different data, so if you think about it, if you're leveraging technology to make decisions on your behalf, the technology wants to optimize to build trust between you and the decision that they're making. And so to build trust, it might be different to how customers see trust. Trust could be in the context of reliability around delivery, or it could be around reviews. We leverage Bizarre Voice. Do reviews become more important in decision making for machines? And how do you structure the data in a way that if you don't have that kind of traditional customer user interface, that they can get the signals to then be able to build trust and serve that mission? I don't know what the answer is. It's just to be able to prepare for that, you just need to make sure you've got the underlying infrastructure right, is my view. And I'm sure others are doing it. I'm not necessarily across all of that. It's just a thought bubble that I have.
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking about it. I'm sure that means others are thinking about the same
And they
thing.
might be solving it already. This is how rapid everything is moving right now.
Yeah, I know that I saw something around, Salesforce doing a lot more integration with Slack and other channels to try and remove some of that normal login that you see and moving to a more agentic approach. So I think that it's an interesting space where it's changing quite a bit, Like you said, we're moving at speed. I think I saw a report that said the human evolution was a steady scale until we came to AI, and the amount of innovation that we've had in such a short period of time, which you touched on earlier, is just momentous, and it's changing.
The innovation
so quickly.
cycle over time collapses. And so, you think about, I don't remember what the actual term is, but you go, when they sent man to the moon, the computation, the computers that leverage that is like what you have in a calculator. And so, what you have in your pocket in terms of your phone, it just kind of has rapidly accelerated, and that acceleration over time just continues to shorten. That gap to innovation just gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's an opportunity, but it's also a risk if you're not adopting or curious or thinking about the application in your life and in the role that you play in the organisation that you're in.
All right, we've got maybe time for maybe one more. I'm going to look in here, and then I know that everyone's going to want to go get another top up on their bubbles. So let me see here. What have we got? What is the role? There's a lot of people asking about the human role in agentic world, but I think we've kind of covered that a bit and what your approach on that is. How do you feel about agentic commerce for day-to-day grocery shopping in 12 to 24 months? Huge adoption, like e-commerce for fashion?
Yeah, I think the adoption will be. I think it's just going to increase over time as it becomes more proficient, and that trust equation, technology evolves. I do think it's going to play an important part of people's missions, whether it's grocery or general merch or other things that people shop for. I don't think it's kind of specific to a certain vertical. Like I just think, like we're already seeing adoption increase, or like we're already seeing more people use it. We're already seeing more transactions happening, not just locally but globally, and I think that continues and it becomes an important part of that shopping mission.
Yeah.
So I don't see it stagnating. I see the adoption increasing over time.
Yep, I agree. All right, let me see if I can find one more in here that we might be good.
I've got a question for you.
Oh no, okay.
Here we go. Let's turn the tables.
Oh no, I waited too long to read a question.
No, that's right.
This is what I get.
Let's mix it up a little bit. And maybe it's going to be self-serving for you, but in the context of what you do, you onboard clients like Big W and MyDeal to leverage Insider. How is Insider One thinking about AI in the context of what you're going to deliver for your clients and for your platforms and your team? Like, what's the overarching view there? You're a technology company, and you're a technology company that enables that personalization and decisioning at scale.
Absolutely.
What does it change in terms of what you guys offer?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two sides to it. So there's what we do for our customers, and then very much what you were talking about, what we do internally as a business. And, you were talking about, from the top down and really needing that to trickle through to the business. And that's very much what we have at Insider. I mean, the teams are constantly coming out with new tools that they've built with AI to make our lives simpler so that we can make our customer lives simpler. So we have agentic shopping agents, and we're doing a lot of work with, how do we improve our customers' relationship with their customers? So that's one piece of it, but then another huge piece of it is also internally, how are our teams adopting this? So very much what we were talking about, and the teams have come up with some amazing things, and that's why I think it resonated with me when you were saying it needs to be a mindset shift. It needs to be something that everyone in the business is on board with so that everyone can really understand and explain that to their customers and, make sure that they see the value in it because they've seen the value themselves. So, I will shout out my colleagues at our booth outside. They would love to talk to anyone about kind of what we're doing with personalized shoppers and agentic AI, and they've got a lot of amazing things that are coming out of Insider One. I don't want to spend too much time. I know you turned the tables on me. I don't want to make it a pitch for you guys, so I will stop there. Thank you so much, Mark. It was really wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of your questions. Really appreciate